Hey guys, Stephanie with AmericanMuscle.com here with my review of these Kooks Long Tube Headers available for all 2011 to 2014 GTs and 2012 to 2013 Boss Mustangs. These Kooks Long Tube Headers are going to be one of the top of the line options for the guys out there that are looking for a high quality long tube header for a more heavily modified car or a car with forced induction or a nitrous car. The runners on these headers are 1 7/8 inch, which is slightly different than the 1 3/4 inch offering, and the smaller diameter is traditionally going to be a better option for those naturally aspirated cars or those with mild bolt-ons, so just keep that in mind when you're shopping for long tubes. But that doesn't mean you have to have a blower to run a 1 7/8 inch diameter. You just need to keep in mind your current mods and the goals you have for your car when you're looking around, as well as what going with this size runner will do to your power band with the mods that you have. Kooks does offer these same headers with a 1 3/4 runner if you think those are more appropriate for you, or you really only have some minor bolt-ons. Now these long tubes from Kooks are one of the nicer header options available for the modern Coyote motor, so they are going to be on the more expensive side of things, but you get what you pay for here. With all of that being said, we were able to get some dyno results from these long tubes, so let's take a look so you can see what I'm talking about. We already ran a baseline run and got some numbers in the books, so we're going to run the car again with the Kooks long tubes and Boss mid-pipe installed, since we have a Boss Mustang here with us today. And we did pair these mods with a VMP X4 tune because you will need a tune when you switch over to running long tubes. A tune here will not only help you get everything out of these expensive mods, but one of the main purposes of the tune with long tube headers is to turn off those rear O2 sensors so you won't be getting a check engine light. Our baseline run with the 2013 Boss gave us numbers of 398 horsepower and 337 foot-pounds of torque at the rear wheels. After installing the long tubes and mid-pipe and throwing the tune on the car, it made 417 horsepower and 353 foot-pounds of torque. That means a peak gain of 19 horsepower and 16 foot-pounds of torque, which are solid numbers considering the gains that you usually see from long tubes. Throughout the curve, we're seeing gains of 23 horsepower at 6,400 RPM, which is what we expected to see, top-end gains with the long tube headers. We also saw 26 foot-pounds of torque at 3,500 RPM, which is a nice torque jump in the lower RPMs. I always like to see low-end torque gains because they're going to make a big difference in the driving experience, and overall, I'd say that these are solid curve gains that anyone should be happy with. Now, a lot of these gains are from the long tubes in the tune, not necessarily the mid-pipe, but you can't run the long tubes without the mid-pipe. Getting into the specifics here, this is a 304 stainless steel header that has a natural or raw finish, which is going to be different than a chrome or ceramic coated header. It obviously does not have the polished appearance that a chrome header would have, and while these do not have the ceramic coating either, they are made from that 304 stainless steel tubing, so you won't have to worry about corrosion. And not to mention, you do get to see those beautiful welds since these have that raw finish. And this is mandrel-bent tubing, which is going to help with smoother air delivery. The headers are all TIG welded, and the header flanges have a ball flange design that is leak-free and gives an OEM fit as well as optimal performance. And we are going to install these so I can talk about the fit more later. And you're also looking at Venturi-style collectors here that have scavenger spikes that help with the exhaust flow. And scavenger spikes aren't surprising here. It's something that I expected to see from a quality header, so I'm not disappointed. If you don't know already, when you change your header setup to a long tube setup, you also need to change your mid-pipe to a shorty mid-pipe to work with the long tubes. These headers are specifically designed to work with a Kooks shorty mid-pipe, and like I said, we did install the headers as well as a mid-pipe on a Boss Mustang. Since this is a Boss Mustang, we had to choose a shorty mid-pipe that works for that car, and Kooks offers a catted H-pipe for the Boss Mustang that we will be using. The H-pipe is a 3-inch mid-pipe that steps down to a 2 3/4 and still maintains that side exhaust. Now, you may not necessarily be installing long tubes in a shorty mid-pipe for sound benefits, but the long tubes alone are going to change the sound of your exhaust, and when you combine that with the mid-pipe swap, you can expect a pretty big difference in sound at the end of the day. We did grab some sound clips so you can hear what these long tubes will sound like with both a factory catback as well as an aftermarket catback, so take a listen. we move on to price, as we all know, or you'd know if you've been shopping for long tubes, they're going to be a solid investment. They are pricey and difficult to install. The options from Kooks, since they are a high quality item that's more at the top of the food chain, are going to be on the more expensive side. The 1 7/8 option that we have here are going to be slightly more expensive than the 1 3/4 version, but not by very much at all. And you're looking at just over $1,000 for a set. Then you also have to keep in mind that these headers need that shorty mid-pipe I mentioned earlier, which, depending on what car you have, a GT or a Boss, will cost anywhere from $500 to $600 for a Kooks X pipe, or about $750 for the H pipe that we're going to install on the Boss. And this is where the investment title that I gave this setup earlier comes from. But you do have to keep in mind all of the benefits and power that you'll be getting from this setup. And to put things in perspective, it's not just Kooks that's going to be expensive. You're going to be looking at headers costing over $1,000 if you're looking at going with the other big player like LTH anyways. But at the end of the day, you're looking at both power and sound gains here. You saw the gains from the Dyno, but keep in mind that these will change depending on your setup and tune. But you do have a pretty good idea of what you can expect there. And in addition to that, you're also going to get an awesome change in your exhaust tone. As for the install on this one, long tubes are always going to be a difficult install. I don't say this often, but if you don't have a helping hand or don't have much experience, it might be better to just take the car to a shop for the install. If you do tackle this yourself, it's going to be a full 3 out of 3 wrenches on the scale and a day in the garage, especially considering you'll be installing the mid-pipe with these headers. You can do it on a jack and stands, but a lift will certainly make it easier for sure. You're going to need your toolbox for this one with an assortment of different sockets, wrenches, and extensions. You're looking at things like disconnecting the steering shaft, dropping the starter, and removing a motor mount. A lot of this install obviously requires working in some pretty tight areas, so while everything is straightforward, getting access and maneuverability in these areas is actually tricky, which is why you need to pull the motor mount on one side, so you can raise the motor slightly with a jack to give you some more room. And since these are the larger 1 7/8 headers, when we did the install, we did have to drop the K-member here to give us enough room on the driver's side. And having a helping hand in this case is really going to benefit you, especially considering the weight of the K-member. The steering box is going to make it really heavy, but a day of wrestling and some pretty pennies spent on these mods is totally worth it in my opinion. So wrapping things up here, the Kooks Long Tube Headers are 1 7/8 diameter. They're designed to work with a Kooks Shorty mid-pipe, and they're going to offer both performance and sound gains. This option is a little on the more expensive side, but Kooks gives a full stainless steel high quality product, and you can check them out more online for yourself right here at AmericanMuscle.com.